Beginning in 1985, Antarctic Press made a name for itself by being one of the first American publishers to bring manga-style influence books to the American populace, coining the phrase Amerimanga along the way. They also published porn comics, and furry porn comics. Then in 1992, Antarctic Press debuted a new series from Gulf War veteran Fred Perry called Gold Digger.
Gold Digger focused on archaeologist and adventurer Gina Diggers, daughter of archaeologist and magic practitioner Theodore Diggers. Gina has her father's knack for finding and studying things, but has taken more of a technological angle after her father noticed that she was struggling with magic. And although she is physically attractive, Gina didn't really get boy crazy until college. Joining Gina is her adopted sister Brittany Digger, otherwise known as Cheetah, who is a Were-Cheetah who has the ability to transform from a full human to a human-cheetah hybrid, which is normally her default form, and a full-on cheetah when she is agitated. Theodore came across Brittany in a Were-Cheetah village that had been slaughtered by werewolves.
And if you haven't noticed already, it's time to break out the graham cracker crust and cherry topping because, for the second consecutive show, we're dealing with some cheesecake art. Now, before we get started with what we're covering today, I feel like I have to peel back the curtain and reveal how this show was made a little bit.
When I initially placed this title in the randomizer, aka the cardboard box, I found it in the Comixology Story Arc section. Obviously, if you followed anything with Comixology over the last year or so, you would know that they have changed their storefront and eliminated the Story Arc section. Though this is far and away the least frustrating of the changes that Comixology has had. Basically, this meant I had to purchase the equivalent of an omnibus that collected the first few Gold Digger appearances from the anthology Mangazine, then a 4-issue introductory miniseries, followed by the first 19 issues, the first 4 of which are the storyline known as The Curse.
In a nutshell, we are not covering all 23 issues in the volume I bought. Instead, those will be portioned out accordingly and spread out to further episodes. In fact, what we are going to be doing is covering about 9 of those issues. We're going to be covering the first few anthology appearances, the 4-issue miniseries, and the 4-issue storyline called The Curse. So with that in mind, let's begin Gold Digger The Curse.
Gina and Cheetah are out in the wilderness searching for the supposed location of an ancient time machine. Though Cheetah is bored, Gina is hopeful to use the time machine for treasure raiding. The girls begin exploring a small cave, only to turn up a group of cave goblins that the girls are forced to deal with. All of this is being witnessed via crystal ball by other mystical forces. Gina and Cheetah manage to escape their attackers, as well as a few tentacle monsters, only to be taken prisoner by 2 elves. Cheetah reverts to human form as the 2 young women are allowed to clean off in a pool before being taken before their captor, a dragon named Dreadwing. He's willing to give up the machine as long as they allow him to use it first and go back to his own time.
Dreadwing attempted to conquer the elf race, however they tricked him and lured him into the time machine to banish him to the year 1993. Unfortunately, 2 elf beings, known as Misha and Tyr, were trapped with him and wound up also being banished where they are now his slaves.
Later, a scantily clad Tyr is sent to the Diggers' quarters in hopes to convince them to aid the dragon. The ever-horny Gina is more than willing to hook up until Tyler mentions that elves mate for life, meaning they can never be with Misha, who he truly loves. He also explains the elves' history with Dreadwing, and to that end, the trio decide to formulate a plan to hopefully halt the dragon and keep the time machine. Gina sets about repairing the ancient device from the future, including outfitting it with some new long-range weapons, only for Dreadwing to catch wind of the plan and take the elves hostage. Gina is forced to turn over the time machine, only for Cheetah to jump the dragon as it enters. Gina then pulls out a remote control to activate the machine's self-destruct, killing Dreadwing and destroying Cheetah's clothes. Again. Unfortunately, this does strand Tyr and Misha in 1993, though they are soon offered gainful employment with the Digger Corporation.
This concludes the initial Gold Digger anthology appearances as we now move on to the first Gold Digger miniseries subtitled The Hitchhiker's Guide to Lost Cities, where we are introduced to the Digger family's personal pilot, Kevin Koss, nicknamed Ace.
The group are attacked as they fly over the mountains of Peru, where the Diggers are forced to jump and allow Ace to head back for repairs. Gina has acquired a gemstone that allows the individual who wields it to be directed to the mythical city of El Dorado and the ancient temple that lies within it. Before they can move forward, however, the Diggers are jumped by what appears to be another werecat.
This is Prince Stripe of El Dorado. His people, the Crine, are humanoid cats who don't actually transform. That being said, his mere existence automatically makes him Cheetah's love interest.
Stripe explains that an evil force has taken over El Dorado and possessed all the Crine except for him. He escorts the Diggers to the city where they are attacked by stone versions of the Crine, who have the ability to regenerate after every attack, but that being said, they could still be neutralized. Stripe explains that an evil wizard broke into the temple and stole several artifacts which he used to possess the populace. The group splits up to cover more ground, and so Cheetah can get to know Stripe more intimately, which of course results in them getting captured. Gina has a different experience, however, as her gem begins slowly reverting her attackers back to normal. Gina is then approached by the one who's been tailing her this whole time and even attacked her plane back in the mountains. Penny Pincer.
Penny is Gina's old frenemy from college turned professional rival, and yes, her name is a turn on the phrase Penny Pincher. Not to be outdone, though, Penny is the one who saddled Gina with the nickname Gold Digger.
Penny explains to Gina that she saw Stripe and Cheetah in a chamber with a dark wizard named Gyphon holding them hostage. In reality, though, Gina has pieced together that Penny just wants her to run distractions so that she can raid the temple. That being said, she really can't refuse the offer of help and tries to sneak attack Gyphon as he states his intent to combine the artifacts with all mystical cities and take over the world, in particular his homeland of Atlantis. The attack is mostly for naught as Cheetah winds up getting possessed by Gyphon's magic and Penny drops a large ruby. Gina then pulls out her healing gem from earlier and uses a sunbeam to free all of the crime and Cheetah. Gyphon then bolts for Atlantis and his death weapon, meaning that everyone's going to have to work together to save the world. Penny has everyone board her private carrier, where even though she has a mini-sub, Gina instead decides to construct a car called the Gina-mobile to apparently drive to the underwater city of Atlantis. Soon Ace arrives with Misha and Tyr as Cheetah allows Stripe to see her human form as Brittany. Gina and Misha get into the Gina-mobile while the others get into the mini-sub.
Also, they have to avoid an attack from naval pilots who have a problem with Ace for some reason that I've yet to determine.
As everyone begins dodging missile fire, Gina works feverishly on beating Street Fighter II for the Super Nintendo. She does manage to start paying attention when a heat-seeking missile begins flying at them. She dives in a cavern to avoid it and runs out of gas. It's then that the two are greeted by what appears to be the Gnome King from Return to Oz.
The Dorothy Gale.
Return to Oz, if you never want your children to sleep again. Now available on Disney+.
The next thing they know, Gina and Misha awaken in a room with Gyphon's sister, the now deposed Queen of Atlantis, named Tyr.
So it turns out I made a bit of a mistake when I referred to the male elf as Tyr earlier. In fact, his actual name is Tark. Though in reality I will still wind up probably calling him Tyr throughout the rest of this.
Tyr is unable to discern if the healing gem can help them when a double agent opens a portal for Gyphon's forces to enter the room. They manage to fight off everyone of the villains, but need to wait for the others to arrive, which hopefully they will after they stop fighting the giant octopus.
Again with the tentacles.
Unfortunately, Cheetah's group is taken prisoner by Gyphon, who begins torturing them as Gina's group manages to storm in via portal. It turns out Gina has jury-rigged her card as a new attack item that will help drain the vapor from the air, causing all the Atlanteans to dry out, even the good ones. The realization that she's hurting her new friends makes Gina turn the device off and allows Gyphon to activate his ultimate weapon, a large mechanical monster called Armageddon. The others try taking a portal to get to safety, but Gina winds up getting separated from the group and thrown all the way to the Himalayas, where she's nearly naked and freezing to death. The next thing she knows, she wakes up with a naked man laying on top of her.
No, 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 no!
The man named Khan explains that Gina was in deep hypothermia and he was merely trying to share body heat to keep her safe. That being said, now that the initial shock is worn off, Gina suddenly finds herself in the mood. However, that's going to have to wait, as it turns out that Khan is the chief librarian of Shangri-La. Meanwhile, the others begin splitting up to try to locate Gina, with Tyr staying behind to keep the portal open. Though this does also provide a problem, as more of Gyphon's forces begin trying to john their way on through. On the plus side, Penny appears to have located Gyphon's central intelligence hub, and as all this plays out, Cheetah and Misha keep bouncing around from location to location, trying to find Gina. Back in Shangri-La, Khan explains that he too has problems with Gyphon, who 4 years earlier abducted and possibly killed Khan's girlfriend Lynn, and more importantly, did not pay his overdue book fees. He allows Gina to check out some of the books that Gyphon had also been looking through to hopefully turn up a way to destroy the wizard. Of course, Gina is still open to more personal exploration of the library.
It's actually at this point that Cheetah and Misha manage to actually locate Gina. However, they decide to just let her have some me time. So they're not the ones responsible for the interruption of the sex.
Gina slips away to the bathroom to prepare while Khan does the same in his closet. When Gina returns, she slips into bed, only to be greeted by a naked Lynn, somehow returned from Gyphon's limbo dimension. The two women then engage in a fully clothed rooftop fight for Khan's hand. It's then that Cheetah must interfere on Gina's behalf, explaining that they really need to deal with Gyphon and Armageddon at this point. Though Gina does promise to return her library books on time. Everyone, save for Tyr and the Atlanteans, retreat back to the Digger Mansion to research, and so Cheetah can get some special training done with Stripe. Unfortunately, now it's Gina's turn to play mood killer as she winds up interrupting her sister, prompting a full Cheetah transformation, just as she was having her eureka moment. Gina needs to combine the healing gem of El Dorado with the crown of Atlantis, but to do so she needs an element called Hinderium, which only grows in a special garden that can only be accessed via a portal located on an island in the middle of the Red Sea.
The garden in question is none other than the Garden of Eden, where humans aren't allowed to enter. Still, the team feels the need to journey into the middle of the Red Sea, where the island containing the portal is located, avoiding more naval forces along the way.
Gina, Cheetah, and Stripe journey through the gate and get jumped by a pair of werewolves named Jeddah and Teban, who are ancient enemies of the Were-Cheetahs. The two are hell-bent on killing Brittany as Gina and Stripe try to assist to no avail. Finally, Gina has no choice but to fire a silver-laced laser at Jeddah, forcing Teban to take her back in order to stop the poison. Cheetah herself is not particularly pleased, as the silver was toxic to her kind as well. Still, Stripe was able to locate several flowers covered in Hinderium, and from there they head back to Atlantis, where Gina manages to combine the items in her backpack and toss it and take out Armageddon. Everyone, even Penny, then heads back to the Digger Mansion as the two werewolves begin plotting their revenge.
Jeddah and Taban, the werewolves of Eden, will have to wait for later stories, as we now get to finally move on to the curse.
Gina and Cheetah are in Iran, attempting to explore a tomb said to be full of treasure, only to obviously have run afoul of the notoriously xenophobic and misogynistic military. They are forced to use the Gina-mobile as a distraction to run everyone off and explore a cave. Well, Gina actually explores the cave, as Cheetah is too busy placing a booty call to Stripe. The two then fall into a chamber with only Gina's parachute backpack slowing down the fall. It's then that Gina spots a large room with a glowing orb in the center, while Cheetah spots Stripe, who's eager to answer the booty call. Of course, this turns out to be a trap, as Stripe proceeds to attempt to bite Cheetah on the neck.
This is Gen, a hybrid of a Jinn from Middle Eastern folklore and a Rakshasa from Hindu mythology, who must survive off of ethereal energy that he drains from human beings. Now, Gen is technically gender fluid with the ability to shapeshift, but eventually settles on a permanent male identity. So that's why I'm using he-him pronouns here.
Cheetah naturally fights back until Jem explains that he's been trapped in this tomb for millennia and he's starving. He then tries putting the move on Gino when those two meet and explains that the orb is a reader of history. He shows them footage of the Persian Empire already raiding the tomb, even though it was prophesied that whoever stole all the treasure would be cursed for all eternity. It's then that Gina notices a small bracelet lying on the floor and picks it up, meaning that she and Cheetah are now cursed.
Yes, it turns out the ancient Persians found a bit of a loophole by not stealing all the treasure.
The trio then soon find themselves trapped in the chamber. Gen knows several ways out, but they're all loaded with booby traps. The only one with no traps has a demon guarding it, and it's a 4-inch tall demon. So it's a possible way to freedom. That being said, provisions may still be needed. Thankfully, Gina finds a Sword of Omens from the Thundercats.
Thundercats!
Gina uses sight beyond sight to suss out the demon, a mouse that Cheetah was preparing to devour. The creature is much stronger than its size would indicate and begins fighting back by tossing the two women around. Finally, Gen manages to crush the demon with a boulder, and the trio find a way out of the temple, where they run straight into the Iranian army. Gina and Cheetah are forced to dodge gunfire until Gen shapeshifts into a woman to distract the soldiers, long enough for everyone to get away in the Gina-mobile.
Also, Gen winds up taking the form of a buff dude, much to Gina's delight.
Unfortunately, while they may have escaped the tomb, the Digger sisters are still cursed, as the Gina-mobile ends up crashing through the cockpit of Ace's plane. Things get even worse as they get back home, as they continuously keep tripping and falling all over each other. And Gina's attempts to research the curse and possibly get rid of it keep getting interrupted by both technical and wardrobe malfunctions.
Not to mention, while all of this was playing out, Stripe's ex-girlfriend from El Dorado secretly infiltrated the Digger compound in order to exact some form of revenge on Cheetah.
Finally, Gina hits on the idea of using a bioscanner to try to isolate the curse hidden in both her and Cheetah's DNA. They could then use the computer to try to eliminate the curse and then reintegrate the now curse-free DNA back into their body. However, curses can actually be kind of tricky, as a massive power surge occurs shortly after both have exited the bioscanner. This knocks them unconscious, and the next thing anyone knows, there is a woman who appears to be a hybrid of both Gina and Cheetah emerging from the tube. The hybrid reads up on what happened, and learning that she's effectively an accidental freak of nature causes her to snap and attack her newly conscious sisters, dubbing herself Gravedigger in the process. Gina tries to reason with her newly created sister, but gets attacked by a laser sword. Cheetah and Grave begin fighting, with Gina blaming the curse for everything. The curse continues to work its magic, as even when Grave is sealed away in a room, it turns out to be the weapons depot. Gina and Cheetah discuss what to do with Grave, with Cheetah wanting her killed and Gina not being so sure. That being said, the security footage of Grave armoring up does little for Gina's cause. That being said, the curse doesn't seem to be working in Grave's favor, as she keeps tripping and falling down all the time. Finally, Gina uses a holographic projection to try to talk things out. Gina points out that while Grave's creation may have been an accident, that doesn't mean that she's worthless and she can still be a contributing member to society. Gina is fully willing to accept Grave into the Digger family, even going as far as to name her Brianna instead of Grave. However, the curse begins to take over again and sends Brianna back on the warpath.
Meanwhile, Stripe's ex-girlfriend has managed to successfully abduct Cheetah and bring her back to El Dorado. However, along the way, Stripe spotted the two and now thinks that the ex-girlfriend is merely making a gown for Cheetah to use at a festival they've all been invited to.
Brianna manages to corner Gina in her workshop, only for Theodore, Misha, and Tyr to teleport in. Theodore then manages to burn the curse away and is willing to accept Brianna into the Digger family as long as Gina is her caretaker.
And that concludes our look at Gold Digger the Curse. How was it? Well, on the plus side, I did like a lot of the character interaction throughout the story. It's very fun, it's very funny, it's got some good humor to it, and you can see how characters like Gina and Cheetah are very much related, even though they're not necessarily related by blood. And I like a lot of the interweaving of faith in this, or culture to be more precise. I like the fact you see mythical places like Atlantis, El Dorado, and Shangri-La all existing in the same plane. It shows how these things can be connected, even though they're still very much different. And I would also like to point out that the first story with the elves and Dreadwing is very well paced and very fun. Unfortunately, there are quite a few drawbacks with this. For the most part, it's alright, but I think there's kind of character overload in this. Like, we're told characters like Tyr, Ace, and Penny are important, but then we really don't see that much of them or learn that much about them except for a little bit here and there. And to be honest, there's way too many action sequences in this. Like, the scenes with Ace and the naval pilots are kind of fun, but they go on for way too many paces and just bog down the pacing way too much. It's just, they're slow and not very exciting at all. And, look, I'm okay with women, or female characters in this case, being open and honest about their sexual identity, but why does every third line have to be about these characters getting laid? I mean, it's just basically every time, every panel is, okay, we need to do this, but God, I'm so horny right now. It's like, really? Dial it back a little. Like, I'm all up for sex jokes and stuff like that. I'm not a prude, but it's just, again, a little too much overkill in this case. Overkill is the problem with this book. So, yeah, like I said, this isn't terrible. It's, like I said, got a lot of points, but I don't know if I could recommend this to everyone. I'm going to have to give Gold Digger the Curse a C. And with that, let's see what we'll be doing next time on the Random Trade Review.
Hey guys, remember you can help support the channel at patreon.com/sleepytimeforcat productions. There you can request a tray to be put in the randomizer, aka the cardboard box. And as always, remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell.